everyone, Sakura Bro is back with another video for you guys. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. I have not kind of been doing well. It's just been crazy, literally. But on the bright side, I like what they did with McDonald's actually. So before we get into the video, I just want to bring this up really quickly. So basically, McDonald's is, if you follow my TikTok, then you probably have seen the coffee video. So yeah, McDonald's is now Whackdonald's. The reason why is because Webtoon is very popular now, which is kind of funny considering it was also popular when I was in high school. But like, I just started reading webtoons again, and I'm actually reading my favorite like webtoon again. And sorry, I'm just not used to wearing my glasses in home videos actually. But we have my daily journal here, and it does say notes and ideas. I didn't have that much of a selection when getting journals, honestly. I do write my medical plant research in here, so it's just easier. So I have like my daily entries, and then I would have my medical plant study and everything. So what I wrote last month, which was February 3rd, 2024, for my first medical plant study, for last month, right, wrote the long list of like recipes and everything else, because in my medical plant book, which I'm going to grab really quick. I'll be right back. So in my medical plant book, right? So back then I literally wrote a list of types of like recipes that you can do in this book. So depending on the plant and depending on the medication for the plant, right? You have to basically, right? You could make plant coffees, teas, lotions, sweets, oils, waters, lozenges, soups, syrups, etc., which is all types of medicines, right? You can make anything out of any of the plants in this book. I normally only research ones that I can find around me here in North America, basically, because those are the only ones that I can actually get access to. All I have to do is literally like walk into a forest or a swamp or whatever where it actually grows around. Take the plant, extract it, and which I'm gonna need a lot of jars for that. A lot of jars. And I also need plant pruners again because I have no idea where mine were when I was in landscaping. Speaking of landscape, I'm wearing my landscape sweatshirt right now. You can also use different parts of the medical plant depending on what type of medical plant you are using. Majority of plants, you have to normally use the flower head, actually, the reproductive part of the plant, basically. Some use only the roots, some of them you only use the leaves, some you can use the whole plant in general. It really depends on what you're working with and also and how strong of a sedative it can be, practically. So the first that I am going to talk about is Yarrow. It is a group of white flowers used as a pain medication. And actually, the flowers aren't what is used as the pain medication and to stop bleeding, actually. What is used for that is the stem and the leaves. The flower heads are actually used to fight against like fevers, flus, normal like illnesses, right? If that makes sense, not like for pain or anything else. But it gets interesting. And it is also used to treat wounds, just like aloe. The difference, okay, so this is fun. So a lot of people, right? So people think of aloe for like treating wounds, cuts, everything, right? And the difference is if you use aloe without cleaning your wound correctly, or if you do not stop the bleeding, it can actually, aloe, instead of helping you heal faster, would actually make you bleed faster. It's basically because I've accidentally cut myself and I was bleeding, and I kind of was an idiot, so I didn't really have the resources to like clean it, or like I was an idiot and I should have known to stop the bleeding first anyway. So in the greenhouse, I used some aloe, and it actually increased the bleeding by like a lot. So I was freaking out at that point. So eventually I stopped the bleeding, I cleaned it up, and then I added aloe afterward. So people misconcept aloe with its properties. Also, aloe is edible, and there is aloe drinks as well. There's like aloe water. A lot of people don't like it because it tastes so bitter. To me, I've eaten an aloe plant raw as it is, the leaf as it is, and to me it just tastes like plant. And everyone else in my landscape used to complain because they would always forget what it tastes like. So like they would take a leaf and just bite into it, and then they would be like, eh. I would laugh at it. I still do. The only difference is with Yarrow, it actually helps stop immediate bleeding, especially if you're gushing out to death, because in Greek mythology, they actually used Yarrow for this specific property, but they only use, as I said before, the stems and the leaves. They would make it into a paste, kind of like how aloe is made into lotions and everything else. The flower heads are basically made into like a tea-like type of thing. I'll get into that. So you can make it into ointments, as I said. It's also loved for its power to stop bleeding, and it is strong enough to relieve pain as well. And it was also used for period cramps as well. And if that bugs you, mind you, periods are also natural, so people should be more open about talking about periods and stuff like that, because it's natural and there's nothing to be ashamed about, by the way. And this is me, a woman, saying that, by the way. And it also helps with if you have a heavy flow, and if you're on your period, as I'm adding this on too, if you have a heavy flow in your period, it can help out the excessive bleeding, which is good. Also, yarrow is a weed flower, by the way, and it is known to also grow in your yard in the spring, which is actually true because I've actually seen it grow in my own yard before, and I would just take non-stop photos of them. Also, you can find them in the forest because I've seen them grow on the side of the road. That's how common it is, honestly. And whenever my mom, because she would see it, she thought it was like a poisonous flower, and I'm like, it's not. It's in my medical plant book. It's in here. I know what it looks like. And she's like, yeah, well, I heard on Facebook that's, poisonous. And I'm like, just because you heard it online does not mean that it's exactly what that is, because you can't believe everything online either. So you might not even believe this video, honestly. It's up to you to believe me or not, but like I spent up to like 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. in the morning doing this, by the way, because I have no life and because I can't sleep half the time. So this is part of like, I do this before I go to bed, actually. Also, do not use yarrow if you are allergic to daisies. And also, this flower is a full sun plant, if that makes sense. So it needs full sun. It needs to be literally out in the open. It should not be like, so I'm gonna shut this for a second because I'm gonna rant here. Okay, so if you took landscape class, right, they teach you about half sun, half shade, and then full shade, full sun, okay? The reason why is in the summer, right, the sun can literally burn plants if it's in the direct sunlight. So if you had, there's a flower that we use in the hangers. I think it's swing time, I think it is. But they attract hummingbirds, which means that they're filled with like nectar practically. So they attract hummingbirds, they drink from the flower, and they're beautiful, by the way. Then there's different types of them. If they're left out, like you can have a half sun, half shade plant in the sun all the time, but you'd have to water it excessively. Otherwise, it will shrivel up and burn. I would know because I've owned those flowers, and that's what happened. Same thing with double impatiens. Those cannot be full sun in the summer. In the springtime, that's different because there's a lot of rain in early spring and it's still kind of like chilly, so you don't really need it like in the direct sun. So therefore it's fine. You'd have to water those flowers constantly because it's not a full sun plant, right? There's literally impatiens that are full sun, but they look different because they're kind of a little bit more, it's a thicker plant. And you don't have to excessively, you only have to like water that once a day in the summer because it can take the heat from the sun. So this flower can literally, I see it in the forests basically. I've walked around the forests a lot in the summer because 1, I have no life, 2, I just love hiking too, and 3, I just like staring at nature. And the reason why that they grow up on the sides of the roads is because they like the sun, and then the heat reflects from the tar of the road, or the heat coming off the road, or the heat coming off the car, because the sun can reflect off the cars, right? It can replenish the plants. So yeah, I had to rant there. And then you just have to be careful when you water full sun plants because you might accidentally drown them. So just saying. Oh, wait a minute. I think I lost where I was. Wait a fucking minute. Oh, my bad. I was looking at the wrong month. I was like, what? Because I wrote late for the 3rd, but a couple times. No, yeah, like twice. Yeah, twice on day 3 for last month. And then like I was just looking at like like this month for the 3rd, and I was like, well, what the? Because the 4th was like the next day. I was like, what am I looking at? I lost where it was, and then now I found it. So that's just me. I don't even know what pages are my own pages in my own journal. Anyway, so the recipe, right, for the Yarrow glycerin ointment. The glycerin, right, for plants is a sugar. It's a sugar that helps certain medications not taste bitter, which is important for plant-based medications. So, because a lot of people don't like bitter tasting, but I'd rather it taste bitter than taste like butt, honestly, which is, that's why I don't really like tea, honestly, because a lot of tea to me just tastes like butt. But that's just, I'm not a tea person. I'm more of a guzzling caffeine person. Even though technically there's a lot of tea that has like caffeine in it, but it's not enough because I'll have to drink a lot of coffee because my tolerance is built up. Like, when I'm home and if I don't have Monsters in my fridge, I have to drink like 3 cups of coffee a day in order to like get shit done. I'm not exaggerating. And then it takes me like 1 or 2 months. It depends on how I feel. 1 or 2 Monsters, and it would be like the regular size Monster, not the 2 liter. If I drink more than 1 2-liter, I would die at this point, honestly. But like, either way, back to what I was saying. Some people cannot use or take glycerin because they are allergic to it. Same thing with alcohol, because they cannot help like handle it. Alcohol is also used in certain medications, which is also in modern medication. Like if you take NyQuil or something, there's alcohol in it. And that's why there's a limit on why you can take that, honestly, because you can get drunk from it. Not trying to give people ideas. I'm sorry. But it's because of the bitter tasting medication. From yarrow flowers, it is traditionally used for the glycerin. It's traditionally used because of it naturally just has like a bitter taste to it. And it is to help you digest it as well. Yarrow is also used to ease hay fever, colds, and flu. As I said earlier, I'm just reading it off of. Take 5 ml, which is 1 teaspoon in water of this medication once a day for the yarrow glycerin, but that isn't the ointment part. It's like the tea, because you have to like, it'll make more sense when I read the directions again. We need to make the medication. You need 30 heads of yarrow flowers, either fresh or dry, right? Which it depends on what medication you're making, because you really do have to be very specific in order to actually get the medication to work, by the way. Which is why a lot of people think that this is with like Wicca, like making potions and shit. Newsflash, herbalism isn't related with witchcraft, but I understand why people think it's linked to it. Because you can be an herbalist and not be a witch at all, and then you can be both, or you're either one or the other, okay? So stop thinking that all of this is all related to witchcraft, because technically it's not. Anyway, excuse me. You also need 200 ml, 7 ounces of water, 400 ml, 14 ounces of vegetable glycerin. You need a scissors, a measuring cup, a sterilized jug with a wide neck jar, and with a lid too, that's important. You need sugar and a funnel that's also sterilized, and then a bottle stopper as well. 1 snip of the flower heads into small pieces. You have to cut the flower head, and you have to mince them, because that makes more sense, because you're cutting into small pieces. And then using the scissors, you put the way it's written in the book is just so stupid. If you cut them up in small pieces, you put what you cut up, a saucepan, and then you pour over water. So you put it in the water and lid, then you heat it gently on the stove, and then you remove from the heat half an hour with the lid on it. Then you pour it into the jar, because that's step 1, actually. That's what I meant to say, by the way. This is a very freaky rocking chair. This rocking chair is old, by the way. This rocked me to sleep when I was a child, by the way. This is my grandmother's rocking chair, which explains why it squeaks, because this thing is old. Sometimes I forget how old this is, and then I sit down, and then sometimes I think I break this. I really gotta be more careful with it, because this thing is old. I'm not even kidding. And it was squeaky just as much as it was then as it is now. Step 2, you pour the glycerin into the jar and stir to combine. Then leave it for a week or 2 in the fridge. Bake it very well. 3, you strain after you kept it in, the fridge for 2 weeks. You strain it through the funnel to clean the bottle, and then store it in the fridge. You can restore it in the fridge practically. There is more steps. Let us do this. Yarrow is actually like the first plant in this book, by the way, and I go all the way around. You can also, you can find yarrow in North America and Europe. Let me read you guys where it is. Okay, so where it grows, it is native to temperate in regions of the northern hemisphere. This is also a perennial because you can gather this all year round and it will regrow quickly actually. But that's if you cut it the right way. If you do not know how to trim, harvest plants, don't do it until you learn the correct way because you can accidentally hurt the plant, honestly. And I've learned that the wrong way before I actually took my landscaping class, so now I can actually do it more effectively and I do not hurt plants. But if you guys wondered what it looks like, that's exactly how it's supposed to look like when you're doing this. And then this is also what the flower looks like. So I know you guys can't really read it because of like everything, but this was like the first one that I researched, and literally I love this. And it does grow in Greece because it is a part of Greek mythology, and these are very, very common actually. And I've seen it grow, so I know exactly what this is, and I've seen it grow, so I know exactly where to go if I want to get some to make, you know, the recipe and everything else. That's the whole reason of the research in the first place. So I'm gonna be starting to make my own herbal remedies practically. And ow, my thumb, because I closed it. And other plants in here. Well, like there's a lot that are only native to Asia, and then they grow across Europe, and then they're only found in North Africa too. If it does not say that it can be found in North America, then I don't research it. But if you guys want this book and to do the research yourself, go ahead. You can find it at Barnes & Noble. That's where I got this from. I got other books that same day I went to Barnes & Noble, which was a while ago. I went to the mall with my friends last year, and I'm not friends with them anymore, but like we went to the mall in Connecticut, and it's one of the biggest malls in Connecticut, or at least it's as popular as West Farms, if you know what I'm talking about. West Farms. I've been there too, by the way, because Lush. And my favorite store is at that mall. And I also got pretzel maker last time I was at West Farms. It was worth it. Anyway, we were at that specific mall, and that's also where I got my Naruto beanie. For those of you guys who love that beanie, I got that at that mall on my 19th birthday, and I still remember that. And they have a Barnes & Noble. That's where I got this book, and I was reading it for like 10 minutes. My friends were trying to drag me out because I was looking at too many books. I was reading so much, which makes a lot of sense. They basically like went to the Starbucks side while I was geeking out over this thing. This was like the one book that I got that day that I actually was like reading constantly. I'll see you guys next Monday. Peace out, everybody.